Hello, everyone, and wishing you a good day today. So, I'm Meenakshi, and today we are doing some reading from the Psych. And this is an article which is talking about a particular concept and related to South America, and how that concept is very symbolic about different things. Now, these kinds of readings are part of your comprehension, which comes in the CAT exam from the Psych, from the Aeon, from Arts and Letters Daily, and from other websites. They keep on using the articles. So I have already done quite a few readings earlier in this channel, and today I am restarting this reading process with you again. So let us start off. So it says, the Quechua idea of Pacha urges us beyond narrow self-concern. Now, what does this mean? Let's try to understand. So, whenever you have a doubt as to what is the main idea of an article, this part which is highlighted, normally relates to the main idea. So this part we'll read later. First of all, let's try to understand the article part of it. It's a long article, so let's see how much we can do. But let's start off. So it says, when I was at high school in Peru, now Peru, is in South America, I was required to read Gabriel Garcia Marquez's 100 Years of Solitude. So he was this child, when he was a child in school, he was supposed to read this book, 100 Years of Solitude. I was told that it is not only a classic piece of literature. Classic piece means something which is important in all times and ages. It is considered a good thing. So, but also, so it was a classic piece, and also it was a great representative of Latin American magical realism. So Latin America basically talks about your South America and those other countries which are part of it. And so magical realism. Now, magical here is not talking just about magic per se. You'll have to infer this. Realism means the reality, is it as it is, or is it part of something else? So realism as a concept means that what is here and now is only important, nothing else. But here we are using the word magical realism, means maybe there is something beyond the here and now. So but it also is a great representative of the Latin American magic realism, a style that is meant to provide the reader with a realistic description of places. So realistic description to hai hi, alongside weird or unbelievable elements. So together with the reality, they are talking about weird meaning strange or unbelievable. So there's some magical element also involved. That's why it's called as magical. It's talking about the reality, but together with it, the magical side of it, the unbelievable side of it also. For me, the book felt like another conversation with my grandparents or different members of my family. So this person has, of course, been brought up on those values. So for him, it was nothing new. And therefore, something I really could not see as fascinating on its own terms. So he did not find it very exciting, fascinating in this sense, very exciting, because he has heard this all his life. So say in Indian context, when you talk about yoga or you talk about Ayurveda, this is something that we have heard since childhood. So this is nothing new for us. But for Western people, this is something which attracts them to India and they find it very fascinating. But for somebody who's grown up with it, we are okay. We are like, we know all this kind of thing, even if we don't use it, but then you've heard of it. So this was the same with this person. And this was in school. Of course, in school, you don't give so much importance. And several years later, after traveling around the world for work and studies, it finally clicked. And finally, when he traveled around the world, then he realized how important this concept was. The perspective about reality, the perspective means the idea about reality that I had carried with me since childhood, one that involved considering mountain as sacred beings. Now, here in India also, we worship nature. So sacred means something which is part of God, right? And acknowledging the presence of the unseen spirits, so ghosts or, things like that, or thinking that rituals could effectively change reality, like we do puja and havan and different rituals, and not just Hinduism, even another religion. There's so many concepts that are involved. Was not the rule for most people, especially not in the West. So in the Western countries, they did not do these rituals. They did not find nature sacred. Nature was just beautiful. But for us, it means something else. For him also, it meant something else. And this is what he realized. when he grew up and when he traveled around the world, that what we take as for granted, actually, many people don't see things like that. The more I think about the many occasions when my intuitions about reality were at odds, means when what he thinks about reality was different. At odds means were different from those of the friends from countries like the United Kingdom, Canada, or the United States. The more I realize that there are some fundamental assumptions about reality that might be implicit and yet relevant to all of us. So here he's saying that there are some fundamental assumptions. Assumptions are ideas that are already in our mind about reality. They are important things, and they are implicit means they are hidden inside, but they are relevant means they are important for all of us. Making use of my training and philosophy, I have found that a term from the Quechua language, the most spoken indigenous language family in the Americas. So here Quechua is a language. In the Americas, here is talking about South America, Latin America, could help me make sense of many implicit views that I held. So he said that in the Quechua language, there were actually a lot of things which could help him understand. One of the words used in the Quechua language was specially very, very important, which could make him and make others understand the kind of different views that were hidden inside some real view. So view here, I'm not meaning what you're seeing, but the concepts of different things. The term Pacha and its meaning is as complex and subtle as the reality it helps explain. So this term, this word called Pacha, this is a concept, this is not just a word. And it is a very complex and yet very subtle, which again is not showing what it is, but it is hiding a lot of different meanings. So Pacha is a polysemantic word that in sense contains multitudes. Multitudes means many things. And polysemantic, poly of course is a root word which means many. And polysemy as a concept basically means when one thing means many things. And polysemantic will mean a word or a concept which means many things. So similarly, like, if you say the word mouth in English is different. The word mouth of an animal, or when you're mouthing words, means you're saying something. The mouth of the river will mean different things. The word run will mean different things in different concepts. So this, of course, are simple words that I'm using, but different words carry many, many meanings. And in Quechua language, the word pacha carries a lot of meanings. In Quechua, plurality is described by adding the word kuna at the end of other words. So plurality means many things. So like we add an S, which means plural of something, or poly, which means many. So similarly, here they are saying when you add the word kuna to any word, like like in Hindi we say kai guna ho gaya, है ना, 5 गुना, 10 गुना, 100 गुना. Okay, so many times. So इसी तरह से they add this word kuna, which means plural things. So many things get added when you add this word kuna. And so not a single pacha, but pachakuna. Pachakuna, of course, does not mean 5 times here. Pachakuna means pacha, whatever it means, and then many kinds of pacha. Okay, so pacha is time and space and a moment in time and space. So pacha is this moment also and the whole moment together. So it's time and space means just a time. Time hi ko aap le lo. So time is now what it is, right? And time is also the whole time that we have. So just now is also the time, and the time today is also a time, and the time of my life is my whole lifetime. Hai na? So similarly, pacha is also like time and space, meaning that place. It can be now, it can be forever, it can be different periods of time. And it is important to highlight that relationship between two elements makes it hard, if not impossible, to disentangle them. So of course, when you're saying pacha and pachakuna means this moment and the many moments that are there, it becomes difficult to differentiate them. It becomes difficult to separate them. Disentangle means they're all together, wound together. You have to separate them. If, for example, I want to talk about the exact moment in which our existence is taking place, means if you want to talk about now, we qualify the pacha with the reference point of K. K means now. So then you say Pacha K means just now. That is when we say K Pacha, sorry, not Pacha K Pacha, to talk about here and now. But on the other hand, to talk about different planes of existence, different timelines, we would require to qualify Pacha with Hanan and Ukhu and Hawa. Now, Hanan here means superior, something which is on a higher plane. Ukhu meaning something below, something on a lower plane. And Hawa will mean something beyond, means something that we cannot see. Okay, so locations in reality. So something above us, something below us, and then something above Hunan. Above meaning here superior, higher. So say something of the god, so that will be Hunan. Something of somebody below, lower than us, will be Ukhu. And Hawa is something that is unimaginable, something which is beyond reality, which we cannot see. So Pacha then seems to a point of reference that the Andean means people of the Andes mountains, people living near that area, again, South America, used to discuss all other points of reference. So it can be K Pacha, which is just now. It can be Hunan Pacha, which is, of talking of the gods or something superior. It can be Ukhu Pacha or Hawa Pacha. And that's what. So according to the Andean scholar, Zenon de Paz Toledo, writing in 2015, another way to understand Pacha is the totality of the world. So Pacha is also everything, this moment, some other moment, and so many things, or that which makes the world. So Pacha is something which makes the world because it is everywhere. And that is what defines everything in the world. Every time, every moment in the world. Pacha then with all of its complexities, so Pacha of course becomes very complex because it defines all the time and seems to open the door to understanding reality in a way that might seem foreign to a Western audience. Now, Western people don't understand, like we talk about our past, present, future. We talk about our past lives as something which is part of our today's life. And we talk about, our next life after death also. But in Western concepts, they normally don't talk about things like that. They talk about here and now. So if reality is everything, how could everything disentangle itself from itself? So here it's saying that if here and now, which is the reality, that is realism, and that is what is accepted in Western philosophy, in Western studies. Normally, they give importance to things which you can see, which are tangible, which is here and now. They call it realism, which is reality. Whereas in other countries, they think about the things that are unimaginable also. So Western people find it difficult to understand this concept. In Democracy in America, again, this is a book by Alexis de Tocqueville. Tocqueville wrote that in the US, philosophy is least studied. So philosophy, they don't study too much. And yet the precepts of René Descartes are applied. The precepts, the ideas of René Descartes. Now, René Descartes had talked about a very important concept of, I think, therefore I am. All right. So I think, therefore I am. And this is the concept of René Descartes. And so in this case, and his ideas were called as the Cartesian ideas. In fact, René Descartes' ideas and concepts have also come in the CAT as passages. So the idea that many people in the Western world assume that the first point of reality is the self. So I think, therefore I am. You are there, and therefore from you the reality starts. The Cartesian ego rings true to me. Ego means he's giving so much importance to the self. At least that is my impression after living here for almost 10 years. So this, of course, this author is also from Peru, from South America. So he says that after living in the US for 10 years, I understand that here and now and myself is all very important concepts of Western philosophy. Yet for many people across the world, myself included, understanding reality as a set of relationships and bonds that pre-exist any kind of individual self seems more fitting. So he's saying that from the part of the world that I belong, that he belongs, and other people of different countries, they talk about relationships and bonds, and that is reality that pre-exist any kind of it. So reality does not start with us. Reality starts much before us. And that seems more fitting, means that seems more accurate. This, of course, comes with a humility. Humility means the humble feeling that does not seem to be present in some current practices. So in today's world, these things are not taken into account. If the entirety of reality pre-exists my awareness of it, so if the entirety of reality pre-exists, means reality hamare pehle se tha, it was there Before we could even think about it, how could we be the masters of something such as the world in which we live? So the world is not in our control then. And Western philosophy says that everything is in your hands, it is in your control, and you can do anything, and it is yourself which is the most important. And here, when you start thinking that everything, things started much before me, I'm just a part of the reality, then nothing is in your control, and that makes people uncomfortable. Such questions were not appreciated in the 16th century, or even in the Andes, means even in South America, in those places. People did not like it that things were not in their control. At that time, clergy members denounced Andean idolatries. So clergy means members of the church, of any religion. They did not like all this. They wanted to talk about different things, and declaring them to be the largest obstacle to the Catholic faith in Peru. So Catholicism, of course, talking about Christianity, they said that these ideals, these philosophical ideas are not the right things. For that reason, some argued it was necessary to extirpate. Extirpate means to remove those views by destroying all the sacred places and religious figures that held meaning for the Andean people. So they said कि उनका local जो भी religion है, local जो sacred चीजें हैं, we should destroy it. Otherwise, that is the biggest obstacle in them taking up Christianity as a religion. So the people of the church wanted to do that. And part of that process included the actions of the priest, Francisco de Avila, who, in order to carry out his mission effectively, ordered the compilation of what is now known as the Huarochiri manuscripts. So he created the Huarochiri manuscripts, compiled it, means brought it together. The reasoning was simple. To destroy something completely, you have to know what it is. So he wanted to first know what was the Andean philosophy of that place, and then only when he knew, he could destroy it. And this text contains stories from mythical times. Mythical means the stuff that has been passed on. There's no historical proof of that. And other stories usually passed down via oral tradition. So orally, they were not written down stories, but stories and myths that were passed down as stories orally said to people. It also contained the locations in which the most mythical events took place. So the places which were very important for their religion, for their spirituality, and along with information about the practices people embraced, means, and even if secretly. So a lot of people did practice that ancient religion, that ancient practice, even now, and all those carried spiritual meaning. With this text at hand and keeping it a secret even from his supervisors, Avila efficiently carried out his eradication effort. So he tried to remove everything related to that old culture and language and civilization. That is, tens of thousands were effectively converted when presented with options such as torture or dispossession. So people were tortured, or that's what happens in conversion normally. So they were tortured because, and their whatever their affinity to their religion or their culture was, that was removed. This text was found hundreds of years later in the Library of Madrid. So it was found in Spain after hundreds of years, allowing us a further glimpse into the complexity of the Andean, means of the Andes, the traditional views. The Peruvian anthropologist, one who studies the human behavior and the history related, Jose Marias Arguedas, who translated the text into Spanish in 1966, called the document the most important Quechua work of those in existence. So it was a very, very important book for those people. One could rightly consider this book as an Andean Bible due to the significance of the narrations it contains. The irony is hard to miss here. Irony means the sad part here. The tool meant to be used by the Catholic Church, an iconic Western institution, to destroy Andean worldviews, might be one of our best resources to reconstruct it and renew the tradition. So now that this book is found, this book was compiled to understand Andean religion and destroy it. And now this book is being used to reconstruct the same thing. In its 31 chapters, the book gives us an unparalleled portrayal of reality seen through the eyes of those indigenous means the people who belong there, Quechua speakers who were alive in the 16th century. In particular, the story of Periakaka, the main deity, the main god of Harua Chiri, is worth mentioning in connection to the idea of Pacha. chapter 16 tells the story of this god, now a mountain. So this was not a real god, it was just a mountain which was worshipped as god. One can visit in the central Peruvian Andes. Details about his exploits and how he fought the pre-existing local deity can be skipped. However, his origin seems worthy of discussion. So how this god came into being? In the text, it is claimed that Paryakaka was born from 5 eggs. 5 eggs hatched at the same time and gave us a unique yet five-fold being. So 5 eggs together formed this god Paryakaka of these Andean people. A possible way, and this is like Pacha. Pacha was also one things and many things at the same time. So similarly, their god was also one thing and many things at the same time. It was 5 different things combined together to create. And a possible way to read this is by highlighting the relational nature of existence, etc. That is all that is talked about. So this is a long article. If you are enjoying it, I'll share the link with you in the comments, in the description. And do leave your feedback, like and share. So what was the main idea here? The main idea was that the Quechua idea, Pacha, urges us beyond narrow self-concern. It talks about what? That it embodies an Andean worldview that sees everything as related. Transcending means going beyond narrow self. And so it's not just you or just me. It is something which is beyond us. And that is what the Quechua word Pacha means. And that is the concept here, that the human is not the only being. There are so many realities which are before and beyond us. And the term Pacha combines all of these. It transcends all those and brings together the concept of time. So that was the idea here in the article. It was, once you start understanding it, you'll get more of a hang how to read and answer questions based on this. And I'll come back with more of these things. If you are enjoying this or if you're learning from this, please do write, comment, like, and share with your friends. Thank you so much. Ending the session now, and I'll wait for your feedback. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.